Hey Gene, it's Raj here. Thanks for getting together again.
Always a pleasure, Raj.
Yeah, it's always good to hear voice, and thank you very much for contributing to our ebook, How to Do More Faster with IT Control. And I just wanted to go a little bit deeper on it with you. So thank you for taking a few minutes. And I've got three questions for you. The first question really is, why do you think companies are looking to go faster, and why is decentralization kind of the way that they're looking at it?
Yeah, I have like two things that sort of like just hit me in the forehead over the last year. One of the speakers that we had at the DevOps Enterprise Summit last October was Courtney Kistler, who heads up technology for the vast majority of Nordstrom. And she said, our DevOps transformation began when we switched from optimizing for cost to optimizing for speed. And I think that's so, I think well verbalizes, this increasing desire to make time to market, this realization that time to market is everything. To win in the marketplace, requires us that we can quickly, come up with good testable business ideas and hypotheses, be able to develop that feature in working code and get that in production so we can actually test it with real life customers. And then and only then can we experiment our way to success. And one of the my favorite things I learned from Adrian Cockcroft last year was he painted this amazing narrative where in the 1980s it would take us years and hundreds of millions of dollars to do any big technology initiative. In the 1980s it was maybe 1/10 of that, and these days you can do it for $50,000 and you can do it in 12 weeks. So now more than ever, the race to win in the marketplace really requires us to be very quick and deliver features to market quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. And so you think the core of that moving faster is DevOps?
Yeah, I think DevOps is the way we get there, and I think that the key DevOps measure is deployment lead time. How quickly can we go from code committed by a developer through the test process, through the deployment process, and so it's working in production. So it still takes time to write code, but the what shouldn't take long is actually migrating that into the production environment, and it shouldn't cause chaos and disruption downstream.
Yeah, and it also sounds like being able to not only deploy code, you can deploy little chunks often and more often, and that's really what gives you the speed versus waiting for one big giant release to happen.
Exactly, right. We shouldn't be waiting on a DBA, shouldn't be waiting on a network engineer, shouldn't be waiting for server administration. That should be automated.
Got it. So obviously, a lot of folks out there are going to want to use DevOps and leverage it. And but what are some of the risks? I mean, what can go wrong, and how can organizations sort of prevent against that, and make sure that they're not going to fall into those traps?
Yeah, I think before we go there, I think we should talk about decentralization, right? I think one of the reasons why I think decentralization of technology is so important is because it breaks the mythical man month. Fred Brooks, he wrote this famous book called The Mythical Man Month. And, for generations of leaders, we've been trained that, if you double the size of a development team, you will double the testing effort, the integration effort, the deployment effort, and ultimately you'll end up with a project that takes twice as long, to actually execute on. And what I think is so amazing about DevOps is that, the deploys per day metric, I think is actually masking an even more important metric. If you look at Etsy, over in 2013, they were doing 30 deploys a day. Now they're doing 50, 80, 90, maybe 100, now they're doing hundreds of deploys per day. And when you ask the question, what changed at Etsy that could explain this kind of ever-increasing number of deploys per day? And the answer is nothing changed at Etsy. The only thing that changed at Etsy was the number of developers. Right? So what DevOps shows us is that under certain conditions, we can actually scale developer productivity linearly with the number of developers. So Amazon was doing 25,000 deploys per day back in 2011. These days, they're doing 130,000 deploys a day. That's 50 million deploys per year.
Oh my God.
So this is the type of if we can create that architecture, we can have developers be wildly productive, working with a tremendous degree of autonomy and freedom, something that we didn't even think possible, say 10 years prior.
Yep. So going back to the question of what issues or problems or challenges, what are the things that people out there should be worried about?
Yeah. So suddenly, my background in security was like, what could go wrong when you're doing 15 million deploys a year, right? You have all the risks that go with decentralization, right? So you empower agility and freedom, but now you have, you who really would like to make sure that you have certain standards in place, right? That there's testing standards, security standards, that you want to make sure that, no small group could cause, such horrible downstream impacts that it impacts the entire service, or worse yet, the entire organization, right? And so, suddenly we're talking about security, things like security, whether it's testing code, whether it's testing performance, to identity and access controls, right? And suddenly we see the same sort of security controls, that many of us experience in enterprise environments suddenly become very relevant, even in DevOps.
Yep. Great. All right. Well, thanks, Gene, for taking the time, and those are some good insights, and we'll I'm sure be back to you with more questions. But thanks for taking time.
Always fantastic, Raj. You're one of my favorite people, so I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thanks, Gene.